Hello everyone, today I'll be reviewing The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. So The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers came out in 2002 and is the second instalment in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So this is the direct sequel to The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and actually kicks off right where the previous film left off. So it's really a good idea to see The Fellowship of the Ring before you see this, because it will really help in understanding the story and get a better idea of what is going on. During the events of the first film, we had these 9 main characters who were going off on this quest to Mordor to destroy the One Ring by throwing it into the fires of Mount Doom. Now, after the events of the end of the last film, these group of characters have split up into a few different groups. So first of all, we have Merry and Pippin, the hobbits, who have been captured by these orcs and Uruk-hai. And then we have Aragorn, Gimli and Legolas, who are chasing after them, trying to track them down. And then also we have the hobbits, Frodo Baggins and Samwise Gamgee, who are setting off with the One Ring in hand towards Mordor, Mount Doom, to destroy the ring. Now what is good about this film is that we know all these characters from the previous film, so this film doesn't have to bother with all the introductions of these characters because we already know who they are. But this film does introduce a few new different interesting characters. We have King Theoden, who's played by Bernard Hill, who plays quite a major part in this film. But the most interesting character in this film is a character called Gollum, and he is really after the One Ring, and he joins up with Frodo and Sam, and he previously had the One Ring and was really possessed by it, but he eventually lost it, and now he's trying to get hold of it again. He's also a very sneaky character because he's trying to trick Frodo and Sam throughout this film. And if you're watching this for the first time, you may be a bit confused about Gollum as a character. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Well, you really have to watch it to find out. But it's amazing the way that the character Gollum is portrayed on screen, because he's voiced by Andy Serkis, and Andy Serkis himself actually did the motion capture for Gollum. So Gollum the creature is actually computer generated in this film, and still to this day it still looks incredible. It still looks very realistic and almost looks like he's actually really part of the film and he's actually a physical creature. In fact, the first time I saw this, which actually was at the cinema, I'm pretty sure I must have thought that Gollum was actually played by an actual person instead of being CGI, because he just looks so realistic. And Andy Serkis manages to get the body language and the voice absolutely right for this character. So yes, Gollum, one of the most interesting characters in this film by far. So obviously, like the previous film, we get lots of excellent action sequences, but I have to say, I think during the first half of this film, we maybe don't get quite as many action sequences as in The Fellowship of the Ring. However, the ending scene to this film is absolutely incredible. I won't spoil it too much, but I think that the last sort of hour and half hour of this film in particular is absolutely spectacular. We really get some excellent sequences and some beautiful cinematography as well throughout this film. But really, the ending scene is shot so beautifully and is really a spectacular piece of filmmaking. It must have been really difficult to film this scene, which is set right at the end of the film. And obviously, a bit like The Fellowship of the Ring, this is a pretty long film. It's nearly 3 hours long, but it is well worth it. And just like in The Fellowship of the Ring, this film absolutely flew by for me, as I was constantly interested in what was going on and was really interested in these characters and this story which was taking place before us. I once again should mention the amazing score by Howard Shore, which as always is incredible, just like in the previous film. In fact, after watching this, I actually had the music stuck in my head for quite a bit because it was just so catchy and just so amazing. What I really liked about this film is that we get to see a different side to the character of Frodo Baggins being really the main pivotal character in this film series, as he constantly has the One Ring and being portrayed brilliantly by Elijah Wood. And in this film, compared to the last film, we see a much darker side to Frodo. He seems to get angry very quickly, and he seems a lot more depressed and worried about the world. And this is obviously because he has the One Ring, and the One Ring is really starting to take hold of him. We did see in the previous film it was taking hold of him a little bit, but this time it seems to really affect his behaviour and his mannerisms, and especially the way he speaks to his friend Samwise Gamgee, because Samwise in this film is really having to make a bit of a decision about what to do and how to act when Gollum and Frodo are around. And one of the key relationships in this film is really between Frodo, Sam and Gollum. This triangle of friends that is going on. They have rivalries, they have clashes with each other, and it's interesting to see their relationship develop, and also before we go on to the next film in the trilogy. So if I was to say some downsides about this film, there aren't really many that spring to mind, to be honest. If I am to compare this to the previous film, I will say I think the first film, The Fellowship of the Ring, does have more interesting action sequences than this one. But I do think that the ending to this film is better than The Fellowship of the Ring. Having said that, I have read some other reviews, and some people think that the whole romance element with Aragorn and Eowyn feels a bit out of place and is a little bit annoying. I didn't really mind too much. It didn't take up that much of the film, but I suppose it is part of the story, and we do see more of that in the next film as well. So it's sort of almost building up and getting us to know these characters a little bit more at the same time as all this as all these battles and fight scenes are going on. Perhaps it is nice to take a break from that for a few seconds. However, I probably don't like this film quite as much as The Fellowship of the Ring, just because The Fellowship of the Ring helps us introduced to this world and helps us get to know these characters a bit more. But I think I have actually seen this film more times than The Fellowship of the Ring, just because there are some scenes in this film I enjoy very much, particularly the ending sequence, and actually one of my favourite scenes in the film is with these creatures called the Warg Riders, which are these beasts which these orcs ride on top of, and they come into the Riders of Rohan and these villagers, and they really start to attack them, and we get this really interesting scene about halfway through the film. So overall, as you can probably tell, I enjoy this film as I did with The Fellowship of the Ring. If I'm to compare this to the previous one, yeah, maybe it's not quite as good, but it still is an absolutely spectacular film, and once again, an excellent fantasy film and well worth a watch. I would say you should probably watch The Fellowship of the Ring before you watch this. It really is good to watch them in order to really get a good sense of the story and to understand properly what is happening. Otherwise, you might get a little bit confused. So overall, I'm going to give The Lord of the Rings The Two Towers a rating of 9 out of 10. I think it's an excellent fantasy film. Definitely well worth a watch, especially if you like these type of films, because this is one of these best type of films, one of the best film trilogies. So definitely go ahead and watch The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. So there we go. So that is my review of The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. So what do you guys think? Have you seen it? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Please let me know down in the comment section what your thoughts are. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.